we kind of wanted to shift gears and talk a little bit about the drug war, which is in essence a war of the government against its own people. Why is this war being waged?
I think it was one of the techniques of social control that's been tried. I mean, through the first was the drug war that Bush launched in 1989 was not the first. There have been several. And if you look at them, I think they're always timed with relation to issues of social control. So take the 1989 one. Was there some new crisis in drugs? No, on the contrary. In fact, hard drug use had been declining. And part of the reason why they could launch the drug war and expect favorable results was that if the tendencies continued, they'd be able to say 2 years later, well, look at the figures, see what great things we did. There was no new crisis in 1989, but there was another crisis, namely the Soviet Union was collapsing. Now, the major technique of social control for a long time, in fact, since the First World War, had been communism coming. Well, it's getting very hard to say that. And in fact, if you look at the first U.S. intervention right after the fall of the Berlin Wall, which was just 2 months after the announcement of the drug war, the invasion of Panama, they could not. First, it was like a footnote to history. It's a thing that goes on all the time, but it was new at the doctrinal level. It was the first time in 70 years that a U.S. military action had not been justified by, communist threat or something, because you couldn't. Berlin Wall had just fallen. I mean, just rabid lunatic couldn't claim that they had some. It was pretty hard to claim that the communists were coming, and they wanted to invade Panama for their own reasons. So it was. They'd used the drug issue. Noriega's going to lead Hispanic narco traffickers to shoot up our kids, and drug war was very effective in that. It was quite interesting to see. I mean, Bush's speech announcing the drug war was in early September, and at the time of his speech, public opinion studies showed that concern over drugs was way down. I mean, if you looked at I forget the numbers now, but if you looked at the range of issues, it was quite low. Within about 2 or 3 weeks, it had zoomed to an unparalleled level. It's the top thing, by a huge measure. Well, why? Because people were simply flooded by it. Look at this awful business, the drug war, we got to do something about it, et cetera, et cetera. The measures undertaken in the drug war had nothing to do with reducing drugs. If you try to reduce drugs, what you go after is, first of all, tobacco, and second of all, alcohol, which are the biggest killers by a long shot. And then you would shift around you would aim, I mean, the drugs aren't good for you. In fact, they're very harmful, especially hard drugs like crack and stuff. But the way that the drug war was designed, it was in fact, and had for a long time, it had been designed to undermine the less harmful drugs, to make it harder to get them and easier to get the more harmful drugs. So take, say, marijuana and crack. Well, marijuana has been the main target of drug war, repression, and I'm sure it's not good for you, but it's not terribly harmful. I mean, I don't think there's a single overdose known after tens of millions of users. But that's been a prime target. On the forming it's bulky, so it's easy to stop. And another thing, it's dangerous because everybody drugs. And then why is tobacco legal and marijuana illegal? Tobacco is much more harmful. My guess is that tobacco is basically an industrial crop. You can make money on it. Whereas marijuana, you can grow in your backyard. Nobody's going to make any money on it. So it better be illegal, because nobody's going to make money. On the other hand, when you knock out the less harmful drugs, like marijuana, you just drive people to the more harmful ones, to the industrial products, which are much more dangerous, much more easily smuggled in. Nobody has to stop. And that's exactly what the drug war has done. Furthermore, if you really want to stop the whole drug industry, the thing you would target is, first of all, the banks, which are doing the money laundering, and then just the chemical corporations. I mean, U.S. chemical corporations, the DEA has pointed out over and over again, they're shipping to Latin America chemicals way in excess of any industrial use, and exactly the chemicals that go into drug production. Well, okay, have you heard of any Delta Force operations taking over the executive suite of, American
Lilly.
Yeah, no, of course not. In fact, as far as the banks are concerned, they are surely involved in money laundering up to their necks.
Yeah.
Nobody did that to them. What you do is you go after the kid on the street who's selling crack because he's desperate.
Yeah.
And in general, it's been a technique of social control and oppression. In fact, it's been used for a major assault on civil liberties.